Hey everyone, I am absolutely thrilled you're here for this explainer today. We are settling in to examine a truly legendary football narrative. Honestly, it's basically a cinematic exploration of fate, psychological grit, and the unyielding architecture of the football gods. Today, we're unpacking the quiet evolution of Lionel Messi as he reaches the absolute peak of international sports. All right, let's just dive right in. Now, we aren't just looking at a standard tactical preview today. The sources actually describe the upcoming 2026 World Cup final not merely as a game, but as this massive cosmic alignment orchestrated by the football gods themselves. It's like the universe is pulling the curtain down on an entire era of human performance. Picture this. The stage is set for July 19th, 2026. A 39-year-old king, Lionel Messi, is defending his throne at New York, New Jersey Stadium against a 19-year-old prodigy who grew up treating him like an absolute god. We're talking about the pinnacle of football here, dropping us directly into the intense, high-stakes reality of this championship match. Section 1. The Silent Executioner. Quiet intelligence over noise. To really understand how we got to this defining moment, we have to look back. Usually, greatness in sports is loud, right? We're so used to that pre-packaged arrogance of athletes who declare exactly who they are before they even step foot onto the grass. But Messi's evolution, it's defined by something entirely different. It's about quiet, calculated intelligence over performative noise. It's what the sources call the iceberg theory of his career. The idea is that every genius is a silent executioner. The solitary figure you see out there on the pitch represents the grueling, hidden labor of decades. Messi conceals the grinding work, drilling the exact same micro-movements in empty rooms. And he only steps into the light once the mechanism is absolutely flawless. So the public just sees an unexplainable miracle, completely missing the structural failures and the relentless effort bubbling beneath the surface. But here's the thing. His greatness was never an inevitability. It was a remarkably fragile reality. As a child, Messi was diagnosed with a growth hormone deficiency, meaning his body was fundamentally incapable of normal growth. It required an extremely expensive medical intervention that his family just couldn't afford. River Plate, a massive club, recognized his raw gift but backed away from the financial burden. So his entire future hinged on Barcelona taking a massive administrative gamble on an unproven kid. That margin of fate was incredibly thin, meaning he had to overcome a profound physical deficit long before the world ever even knew his name. Section 2. Architecting the Void, Collapse and Rebuild. Now, despite his early club success, the international stage demanded a tax that he really struggled to pay. For years, Argentina operated on this incredibly vulnerable system. It basically boiled down to one terrifying tactical plan: giving the ball to the savior and praying for a miracle. Talk about pressure. It was a deeply flawed architecture that placed the entire emotional and tactical weight of a nation squarely on one man's shoulders. And as you might guess, that flawed system finally shattered in 2016. The collapse was just brutal. Argentina suffered consecutive Copa America final losses to Chile. And in that 2016 final, Messi suffered a devastating penalty miss that left him completely hollowed out. It triggered a total emotional void and actually led to his international retirement at just 29 years old. But the sources emphasize a key point here. This wasn't weakness. It was a deliberate, totally necessary tactical deconstruction. Argentina was finally forced to look in the mirror. Section 3. A midfield of dogs. The archetype of survival. To actually protect their star, when he eventually returned, Argentina needed a massive structural rebuild. So they brought in what the sources call absolute dogs. What does that mean? Well, these are gritty midfielders willing to literally run themselves into the dirt to maintain a rigid, resilient tactical framework. The sources highlight players like Enzo Fernandez as the prime example of this archetype. They desperately needed players who would do the grueling physical labor required to shield their star. And the fundamental purpose of all this running? Structural resilience. By shielding the savior, these midfielders provided the exact equilibrium the team had been missing. With this new foundation, the overarching game plan wouldn't just instantly disintegrate if Messi happened to have a quiet night. It was a complete architectural turnaround, and it's what ultimately made his return to the national team a permanent success. Section 4. The late-stage street fight. Surviving the edge. So let's look at this new system in action. Argentina has basically completely abandoned comfortable victories. Instead, they've created this chaotic timeline of knockout survival in 2026. It is a total high-wire act. Against Cape Verde, they barely survived a historic upset via an 111th minute deflected own goal. Against Egypt, they were actually down 2 goals before miraculously scoring 3 in the final 11 minutes. Against Switzerland, they gave up a draw to 10 men before winning it in extra time. And then the semifinal against England, Enzo Fernandez levels the score with an 85th-minute equalizer, which paved the way for a stoppage-time winner. They are constantly operating right on the precipice of elimination. Which brings us to this frankly terrifying pattern: 10. That is the staggering number of goals Argentina has scored after the 75th minute in this tournament. When they run out of structural stability, they just rely on pure psychological grit to drag their opponents into a high-stakes emotional street fight in the final moments of the game. Section 5. The Prodigy and the Metronome, the Spanish contrast. Now this brings us to their final opponent, setting up a massive stylistic clash. We're talking about a complete tactical tug-of-war here. On one side, you have Spain relying on total structural control, compared to Argentina's absolute chaos. Spain uses this patient, metronomic possession to slowly suffocate teams, basically making them chase shadows, while Argentina uses short-burst pressing to disrupt that rhythm. Spain has enjoyed this flawless, quiet conquest, where they barely concede a goal, while Argentina, as we've seen, thrives in the high-stakes, emotional street fight. And at the absolute center of Spain's clinical success is 19-year-old prodigy Lamine Yamal. He operates as the engine of their control. He dominates the right wing with the unbothered freedom of a kid who simply refuses to ask for permission to occupy the global stage. His rare ability to alter velocity without ever losing connection to the ball is just exceptional. After he completely dismantled France with that world-class curler, he represents a genuinely terrifying challenge for Argentina's left flank in this final. But get this, the drama isn't just on the pitch. There is a deeply fascinating dynamic in the dugout, too. Spain's manager, Luis de la Fuente, actually instructed Argentina's manager, Lionel Scaloni, during his coaching badge courses. It is literally the mentor versus the student. Because they share this deep history, both men possess an intimate understanding of each other's psychological baselines. They know exactly which strategic levers the other is going to pull when the stadium noise reaches a fever pitch. Okay, now what is truly mind-blowing about this matchup is the profound cosmic foreshadowing the sources uncovered. Back in 2007, a 20-year-old Lionel Messi participated in a UNICEF charity photo shoot. In it, he gently bathed a 5-month-old infant in a plastic tub. You know who that infant was? It was Lamine Yamal. I mean, no way, right? The universe aligned this collision nearly 2 decades before either player could even understand it. The child who received that quiet blessing is now tasked with attempting to take the crown from the king. Section 6. The Final Artifact. The Answers That Outlive Us. We really have to look at exactly what is on the line in New Jersey. Let's be clear. Messi is not just some honorary captain riding the bench for morale. At 39 years old, his records are staggering. He is the architectural center of gravity for this team. He has scored in all 5 matches leading up to the final. He's topping the Golden Boot race. During this tournament, he became the outright all-time leading goal scorer in World Cup history and the first player ever to register an assist across 5 separate World Cups. Make no mistake, he is at the absolute height of his powers. And the prize for this clash of titans? Well, FIFA is introducing this custom championship ring for the first time ever. The winning squad gets 30 of these 2026 numbered rings. The sources note that this carries immense psychological weight. You aren't just playing for a trophy that eventually goes back to a vault. You are fighting for a permanent artifact, one that makes you the answer to a trivia question that will quite literally outlive everyone sitting in the stadium. Which leaves us with one final, very provocative question. The old world built this throne out of pure silence, structural resilience, and decades of heartbreak. Messi has already permanently won the argument for quiet execution. So the question tomorrow night is simply this. Is Lamine Yamal, a 19-year-old kid completely unbothered by history, ready to sit in it? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer today. I really hope you found this breakdown as fascinating as I did. Catch you next time.